Today I'm going to show you how to export data using the Django import export package directly from the view. So we have a simple project over here, and above the table we see a download button. Once I click on it, a modal appears, and over here we can select different formats on how we want to export our data. So I'm going to select Excel just to show you an example, and there is our data. So let me make this a little bit bigger. Okay, and this is basically what we are going to build. As mentioned before, we have two additional formats, CSV and JSON. So without further ado, let's get started. Alright guys, so this is the plan for today's video. First of all, we are going to have a brief overview of what have I done so far. So we are going to take a look at our starting project, and then we are going to install Django import export. And I know I've done already two videos related to this package. However, both of them focused on the export part directly from the Django administration. So this time I want to show you a different approach where we can export our data from the database from the views. All right, so anyways, we will need a model, so we are going to create a simple post class in the models. After we cover this step, we are going then to take a look at the administration, because over here we need to prepare some configuration related to this package. Next, we're going to jump into the views. Next, we're going to create a download form. So this is necessary for selecting the format, and we will have three options: Excel, CSV, and JSON. Next, we are going to go back to our views and add a post method, and then we are going to create a template which inherits from base HTML. So let's take a look at base HTML, because this is basically a bootstrap template, and I've added it because of the readability purposes. Okay, so once we are going to create our main HTML, you will only have to focus on the blog title and the blog content. All right, so now let's jump into the settings PY. As you can see, I already included the posts application that I created over here into the installed apps list. And over here we have some settings for additional templates. This is done in order to have this base HTML file that I showed you already. And yeah, I think this is basically it. The one thing I did additionally is to create a super user. So as you can see, I'm already logged into the Django administration. All right, so now let's install Django import export, and we will be done with this 0.0. So I'm going to quit the development server from running, Python manage, not Python manage py pip install, and then Django import export. Okay, let's wait a few seconds. Okay. So now what I'm going to do is to go to the settings PY, and then I'm going to add import export like this. All right, quotations, I want everywhere the same standard. Okay, so this should do the trick. I'm going to save this, and now we can proceed and jump into the models. So over here we are going to create a simple post class. Let's do it very quickly. So this is what we want to export, the post model that we are building with certain fields, certain columns. The first column is going to be the title, and this is going to be a models char field with the max length, let's say 220. Then we will have the description, so some additional information to the post, and this is going to be a models text field. As the next step, let's add an isActive option. This is going to be a models boolean field. and let's specify the default to true. And let's maybe also add a created field. This is going to be, of course, a date time field. And let's put in auto now. Add is equal to true. So basically, to finish this off, let's provide a string representation method. And let's return maybe, let's just add the title over here, okay, as the string representation. All right, so we have 4 fields, 4 columns, and right now we can go to the administration and bring in this model and register it in the admin. So from .models we want to import post, and let's register it very quickly. Post. Let's save this. So we are now moving to the admin section, but before, let's run the migrations. So Python manage py make migrations. Okay, Python manage py migrate, and Python manage py run server. Okay, let's see if we will see our posts. There they are. All right, so now we can focus a little bit more on the admin. So somewhere above here, I'm going to create a new class, and this is going to be the post resource. And in order to finish this class, we need to do some imports from Django import export. So from import, okay, so let me select interpreter. I think I have a wrong one. All right, there we go. Import export, we want to import resources. Okay, so now this class can inherit from resources and then model resource. And basically over here, what we need to do is to create a configuration for our, in our case, export, right? So over here, let's add a class meta. Let's indicate that we want to use the post model, right? And then we can specify the fields. And here I'm going to provide all of them, all right? So ID, then I'm going to put in title and the description. Also, I'm going to put in is active and created, right? So maybe let's add one more point to our plan. Point 7, adjust the fields. Okay, and I'm going to explain this a little bit later because maybe we would like to format the created or the is active field. The is active field, for example, will be 0 or 1. So maybe we would like to change it to yes or no, or true or false, all right? And one thing that we could also do is change the export order. So here we will have, for example, ID and description, and maybe, okay, I'm going to put in is active, and then maybe the title, and then the created, all right? Something like this, export order. Okay, so basically this is it for the post resource. We are going to come back to it a little bit later, as mentioned before, for adjusting the is active and created fields. But for now, let's move on. So let's go to the plan, and yeah, the next part is to take care of the views. So let's do this very quickly. Over here, in the views py file in our posts folder, let's create a new class. Let's call this posts list, or posts list view, name it like this, and this will inherit. Now I'm going to put in pass. This will inherit from the list view, of course, but also from the form view. So let's bring those two in. So from Django views generic, we want to import the list view and the form view. All right, so now we can put in list view and form view. All right, so as the next step, let's bring in also the model. From .models, we want to import post. And now we can specify that the model is set to post. Okay, so this is the post list view for the post model. What I'm going to do is to provide also a template name. So I like to provide my own names for the templates, and I'm going to name it main HTML. And then we will have a form class, but for now I'm just going to comment this because we need to create this form class. And then we are also going to have a post method, which takes in self, request, and keyword args. And for now, I'm going to also put in pass because this is enough for now. We just need to come to this later and focus on the next step. And if we go to the plan MD, the next step is going to be the download form. So inside of the posts application, let's create a new file, forms.py. And this is going to be a very simple form. But first of all, we need to import forms from Django. So from Django, import forms. And we are going to create a class called format form, because this is going to be a form to select the format. And this will inherit from forms, not model form, but form. Okay, this is not a form related to the model. It's a format. It's a form to basically give us a format. So over here, we are going to specify this format. This is going to be the field, and let's set it to a choice field like this. And now we need to specify the choices. So I'm going to write format choices above the format class form. And let's set a tuple, and inside we are going to add 3 additional tuples. So first of all, we will going to have the Excel. Then we are going to have the CSV. And finally, we are going to put in JSON. All right. So right now what we can do is to specify the choices. And the choices are going to be equal to the format choices. Format choices. All right. We'll also place a widget because we are using React Bootstrap. Sorry, not React Bootstrap. We are using Bootstrap, and in order to have a class added to this particular form, so it looks nicer, we'll need to provide a widget, forms select. There it is. And right now we can specify an attribute, and here we want to focus on the class attribute. Okay, so we can provide here many attributes, but we want to specify a class attribute, which is for Bootstrap form select. Okay, so this way we will have a nice looking form in Bootstrap style. Okay, so now we have this format form, and we can take a look at our plan. So this is done. We need to go back now and create the post method, finish the post method. All right, so let's do this very quickly. Inside of the views, now we can specify the form. So from dot forms, we want to import our format form like this, and now we can do this post method. But actually, before we start coding here, let's also bring in the post resource. So from .admin, we want to import post resource. Okay, so now we can specify the query set. I'm just going to put in self get query set, get query set. All right. If you want to do some filtering and so on, you can play around it. As in the next line, we are going to set the data set, and we are going to pass in this query set. So first of all, we need to bring in post resource, and then we want to export. And what do we want to export? We want to export our query set. So in this case, this is all the posts that we will have, okay? But as mentioned before, if you want to do some filtering, this is the place to do it. Okay, now we are going to pick up the format. So this is going to be from the post request. So request, post, and then get. And we need to reference our field name. So in our case, this is format. All right. So over here, we have our format. And now we will have to do a little bit of if else. So we want to check if the format is equal to XLS. And if this is the case, we want to set the DS as dataset to dataset and then XLS. And of course, this is how you check if something is true or not. Then we want to see if the format is equal to CSV. And if this is the case, the DS is going to be equal to dataset, and then let's put in CSV. Okay. And finally, let's set the DS equal to dataset JSON, just like this. Okay, so we are getting closer. Now we need to set a response. So response equal to HTTP response. And here I had an auto import, but in case you don't have this option, from Django HTTP import HTTP response. And here we need to pass in the DS, and we need to specify the content type equal to, and I'm going to pass in the F string and put in the format. All right. We are very close to the finish. Now we need to set the content disposition. So we are going to make this as an attachment. So content disposition is equal to, and then again, I'm going to use the F string attachment. And here I'm going to provide the file name as posts. And then again, I'm going to put in the format. Okay, so the final thing is to return the response like this. Okay, so we have the views. So the one step missing in our plan is, of course, to link everything together with the URLs. Okay, so we need to create a URLs UI file. Let's do it in the posts application. So URLs PY, and from Django URLs, we want to import path, and then from .views, we want to import post list view. Let's set the app name to posts, like this, and URL patterns. Let's register this view. So post list view as view. Let's set the name as main. Okay, now we need to include those URL patterns in our main project folder urls.py. I'm going to import include and path as main, then include posts URLs, and then the namespace is equal to posts. Okay, let's go back to the plan. Now that we have the post method ready, that means basically that we have our views ready. We also created, let's say, five URLs. So this point has been taken care of, and the 2 points left are the templates and adjusting the fields. So what I'm going to do is to jump into the posts. Here I'm going to create a templates folder. Inside I'm going to create a posts folder, and then let's take a look at the name. It's main HTML, so inside of the post I'm going to put in main HTML. All right, so in order to save time, I'm just going to paste this template, and we are going to walk through what has been done over here, right? And okay, so here we have a bootstrap model at the very top. So it's in the blog content section. In the blog title, I just added home. And this model is triggered by this button, okay? So it works by the ID. So ID is download model, and we have this download model as datab as target. And here I've placed our form that we created in the forms PY. So whenever we open a model with this button, we will see this form, and we can basically select a format. And then going down, we have a table. First of all, we are checking if there are any data. And if there are data, we are going to see a table. And this table will have the title, description is active, creation date, the details, and the delete. So this is only for visual purposes. Those sections, details and delete, won't do anything. So we're not going to focus on showing the detail view and deleting a record. And then we simply, with a for loop, display those fields in the table. And if we have no posts, we are just going to play no posts. So now I'm going to save this main HTML, and let's take a look at how this actually looks and works. Okay, so posts main HTML doesn't exist. And did I place it in? I placed it in the posts, templates, posts, and in the views I have posts main HTML. So I'm going to try one more time Python manage py run server, and there it is. All right, so right now, as you can see, we have no posts, but we can select a format, and basically we can save a file, but this file won't contain any data. So in order to fix this, let's jump into admin, and I'm going to add one record, and then I'm going to ask you to add at least 4 records on your own. Okay, so I'm going to pause the video, and I'm going to add some records so the table won't look that empty. All right, so I'm going to put in first post and then description of the first post, and I'm going to simply save this. Okay, and then let's add a few posts on our own. All right, guys, so I have my posts added, and I'm going to go back to the main page, and there are the posts. Let's see if the download works. So I'm going to select Excel, and there it is. All right, so let me just make this a little bit bigger. And as you can see, we have is active as one, and maybe this is something that we would like to format, and then maybe we would like to format the created date as well. Okay, so if we go back to our plan, now we can take a look at point 7. So we need to go back to our admin py, because over here we have our post resource, and we are going to adjust the is active field and also the created field. Okay, so in order to do this, we need to bring in the field from import export, and to be more precise, from import export fields. So let's do this very quickly. From import export fields, we want to import the field. Okay, let's instantiate it over here and over here. So this is pretty similar to Django REST framework serializer method field. All right, so over here we are going now to override this setting by writing dehydrate and then the name of the field. So dehydrate, I hope I spelled this correctly, is active. This is going to be the first, and this is going to be self obj. Okay, so in Django REST framework, we would have not dehydrate but get. Okay, so we would have get, and then the name of the field is active, and then we would have the self and obj. So if you know Django REST framework, this is basically the same idea. And then I'm just going to copy this, and I'm going to do one for created. So the same thing, dehydrate and the name of the field. All right, so here for the is active, I'm going to do an if check. If obj is active, so if this is the case, I'm going to return yes, and then in other case, I'm going to return no. And then for the dehydrate created, I'm going to return and then obj created, and then strf time, and let's change the format. Let's see what is the format right now. So maybe let's have the day first, then the month, then the year. Okay, so let's change it a little bit. So first let's put in the day, then we will have the month, and then we will have the year like this, and hour, minute, and second. All right, so I'm going to save this, and let's see how this works right now. I'm going to refresh the page, download, and let's see what will be the result right now. Okay, so we have yes, and then if we take a look at the created, we see first the day, month, and then the year. So over here we had the year, month, and then the day. Okay, so basically this is it. This is what I wanted to show you. But before we finish, let's take a look at the other formats. So here we will have the CSV. Okay, works as well. And then the JSON. And there it is. Okay, so everything is working. I hope you guys enjoyed this video and see you in the next one. Take care and bye bye.